So what's another way to say good enough that you wish it was better, but still not exactly good? So yeah, I was rooting for this one too, but call me mixed, I guess. Good luck, have fun, don't die. This is the new independent feature from Gore Verbinski. And you know, you gotta feel a little bit bad for Gore Verbinski. Among other things, he's one of several filmmakers who've always been somewhat unfairly framed as just doing a Terry Gilliam impression. This time, he probably comes closer to actually fitting into that label. In this case, he's not only doing a slapstick action comedy with maximalist visuals and a junkyard opulence aesthetic, but also making a movie that is too ambitious for its own good, with a tone-jumping narrative that lunges between the whimsical, mean-spirited, and suspiciously reactionary that I probably would have thought was brilliant when I was a 14-year-old, and now look at it and go, hey, wait a minute, as an adult, which somewhat unfortunately on several levels, somewhat unfortunately describes having made as close as anyone has to a Terry Gilliam movie. Somewhat similarly, Verbinski is, in fact, a very good director who has frequently found himself in the unlucky position, well, maybe not frequently, but at least twice, of having made good movies that started huge creative trends that everyone then got tired of and mad at. He, of course, directed the first Ring movie, the remake of The Ring, which was a good movie in its own right, and also ended up being responsible for several visual, aesthetic, and remake trends that effectively represented American studio horror films just really, really sucking for like a decade. And then he did the Pirates of the Caribbean movies at Disney, which people kind of forget really set down the template of what big budget IP-driven franchise films were. For a solid 5 to 10 years, that was what everyone was copying, including the Marvel movies, before the Marvel movies landed, and then everyone blamed all of that aesthetic on Marvel. Even though everything from the shiny studio maximalism, to the abundance of CGI, to the hiring funny but not too funny actors to say quips and comedy leads as action leads thing, that really kind of jumped off directly from the Pirates movies. True fact, no denying, Robert Downey Jr. does not play Iron Man, and thus launch the entire last 20 years of blockbuster casting without Johnny Depp as Jack Sparrow first. That's a direct one-to-one-to-one line. Now anyway, clearly Verbinski himself got burned out on the whole thing, because in 2016 he made The Cure for Wellness, good movie by the way, I stand by it, which already felt like a fuck you all, I am frustrated when working in mainstream Hollywood, so here is my set myself on fire statement of that, which was a big, strange, gross, piss people off movie. It's way too long, it's guaranteed to make audiences leave the theater and go fuck you. Watch it if you get a chance, you won't believe that a studio put money into that and that a major director did it, and that anyone thought anyone wanted to see it. I thought it was terrifically bonkers, and I thought, okay, that's clearly a director getting stuff off of his chest and saying, look, I made a lot of money for you motherfuckers, here is my burn it all down, purge myself, act of creative scream to the heavens, and I guess it turns out that he still had a lot to be frustrated about, because that was 10 years ago, and now he's back to basically say, I'm still fucking frustrated, so now I still want to light everything on fire, but in a frustrated old guy way. So this is the even more frustrated, but now with everything, young people and their damn phones in particular movie.
Stupid younger generation.
So yeah, the gimmick here is the plot of Terminator, with a guy time traveling from the future to the present to supposedly stop a malevolent AI from destroying the world in his time. But now it's different, because back in the Terminator 80s and 90s, AI meant scary military robots, but like now, today, AI means annoying ChatGPT bullshit, so it's got to be a different tone altogether. Or does it? It does, but like not really. Sam Rockwell is the time traveler. He claims to have made 160 prior attempts. He's seeking a correct combination of allies, all culled from a single diner that he steps into at the beginning of the story, to basically help him fight his way from the diner to a spot a few blocks away where basically Skynet is already sort of online and about to go more online and try to stop it. The big conceit of the narrative is that others in the group, not all but some of the others, are already predisposed to join him and believe his crazy-sounding machines are out to get us story for their own reasons, which are then filled in by extended flashbacks in which they're individually shown to have had their lives recently ruined by encroaching out-of-control technology, specifically cell phones, zombified high schoolers, video game-addicted partners, and tacky, upscale, predatory, LA-specific New Age biotech wellness marketing via human cloning, which feels a little out of left field. Oh, and also 2 of those backstories are glib comedy takes on school shootings because it's that kind of movie. Yeah. So if you're asking, okay, wait, so cell phones bad, video games bad, human cloning obviously weird to make this a bigger sci-fi idea, and also school shootings definitely bad, and exactly how do they plan to make that funny? Spoiler, it's a bit of a reach, but they're trying. But how does AI come into this? Well, that's kind of the issue of the whole movie. And just to be clear here, I could not be more on the same side as where the movie seems to be in terms of fuck AI in all of its forms, and even I was getting a sinking feeling of, this is more of an I am mad movie than a this is why I'm mad movie. This is one of those movies where you can tell the filmmakers had a grab bag of generalized technology is alienating us from each other as humans stuff that have been gestating for a long time to get off their chests, and AI specifically is bad got grafted on as the current year big bad of the story pretty much as they went to production without much coherent grasp of what it is or what they really think is bad about it, apart from the fact that it exists adjacent to the other previously existing technological gripes. Like there's this big set piece involving a giant CGI monster that's like meant as a joke about badly prompted generative AI slop art that's funny-ish, but it's also a joke about Facebook memes from like 2 years ago. And like sidebar to explain why this is fun but doesn't totally work, if you're writing a 6-7 joke into your screenplay now for a movie that might not come out until 2028 or 2029, cut it. Don't do that joke. It's not going to land. It's going to do the opposite of land. Not that a deliberately absurdist dark satire sci-fi needs to have some kind of tight-knit world building for me to engage, but it's eventually a problem when a movie that keeps insisting it's specifically about AI and the problems therewith, but ultimately can't or won't elaborate what it thinks the problem is, other than positing AI as the monster at the end of a labyrinth that the damn kids and their gall-darn screen time already built. It's all got a very Picard Season 3 vibe. That was the one where the space boomers had to come out of retirement to save us because the Federation teenagers couldn't put down their cell phones and got infected by the Borg mind virus. It's unfortunately very much that version of satirical sci-fi that just doesn't really seem to know or have a fully formed opinion about what the target of its anger or satire is, and instead settles for making the target anyone who isn't as angry as I am about the things I'm angry about. So in this case, it's not so much an anti-AI movie as it is an anti-people who don't hate AI the way I do or as much as I do movie. And that kind of feels discordant to when you're making a movie where the thesis seems to be technology's biggest danger is the way it alienates people from one another, and it seems to hate other people and their relationship to technology, and sometimes just other people, more than any of the technology. Not that it doesn't have fun set pieces, not that the actors don't seem to be having fun, not that it doesn't have a lot of Verbinski's signature style to it, although the broken narrative and the flashback structure just doesn't really seem to add much to it. Doing an episodic narrative that's out of sync with linear narrative is always a crapshoot as to whether or not people are going to actually be invested in going back into a main story and not feeling like, oh god, we're back here again, I thought that story was over. And in this case, you do end up feeling tired, or at least I did. I didn't feel like I was invested in any of these people's story enough to want to rejoin the main narrative after I got caught up to who they were. At a certain point, I stopped and made a note to myself that this is another movie that unfortunately, and I don't know what satirical sci-fi does to escape this particular gravity well, but it feels like a lesser early season Rick and Morty story. But more than that, as it went on, I realized, no, it's a little worse than that. It feels like something that would be tossed off as a joke in a Rick and Morty episode as a story that they wouldn't do, or a side plot that Morty would suggest so that the show could deliberately shoot it down as something hackneyed that they were too good for. Oh yeah, Morty, cell phones turning teenagers into zombies. Real original. That's some biting social satire there. Do you want to get your Scooby gang together and make some snarky social commentary about that one? And at that point, I kept waiting for the movie to rise above and pivot from that and say, no, we're not actually doing in 2026 a cell phones turn you into a zombie story, because that's such a fucking cliche. We actually have something much more interesting, much more of the moment, much more prescient to say about AI, because there are real problems with that, real issues with that go beyond just the fact that kids and their phones are annoying to people my age and older. And it never quite gets there. It really does seem to think that the worst thing about AI is it's another distracting screen thing that makes younger people annoying to older people. And it's doubly a shame because there's a lot of very good actors in this movie. Sam Rockwell, of course, always good, even when presented with less than ideal material. It's very well shot, very well staged. Verbinski has lost none of his fastball as an action director, as a visual stylist. It looks much better than another version of this would. I really wish this were better, but it's not. 6 out of 10 is probably generous, but that's about what it feels like. A compliment that I can give it that I feel like the filmmakers would appreciate is that generative AI would not be able to fail as interestingly as this does.